It seems like 2021 is going to be completely epic for games. I mean, it's just been a couple days since we saw that rather controversial Nintendo Direct that half the internet hated, half the internet loved, and now it seems kind of crazy, but well, PlayStation has decided to step out and say it's our turn to show you what's coming soon from the world of Sony. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and in about 24 hours from when I upload this, there's going to be a new state of play revealing a bunch of new PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games. Now, I'm going to be streaming this, but before we do that, today what I want to do is try and break down some honest speculation, some educated guesses as to what's probably going to show up, with 5 realistic guesses and 5 completely awesome dreams that I hope we get a chance to witness tomorrow. Now, let's start off by actually looking at this. This is over on the PlayStation blog, and I was reading over it because it gives us a pretty hardcore hint as to what's probably going to be talked about. If you go in here, it says, this Thursday, a State of Play broadcast will serve up new updates and deep dives for 10 upcoming games to the PS4 and PS5, including new game announcements and some updates on third-party titles that were shown in the June PS5 showcase. Now, part of the reason I like this so much is that they're definitely tempering expectations. They're being very, very accurate. They're not letting fans completely freak out. They're being very, very clear as to what you're going to see. They also make it a point to say that this is going to be 30 minutes long, so that's going to be quite a few freaking chunks of new games. And they do say that this is not going to be talking about any sort of PlayStation hardware or business-focused updates. So I guess if you're somebody like me who wishes they'd make another PlayStation Vita, if that's happening someday, it's definitely not happening tomorrow. So with that being established, let's break down the 5 games that are definitely going to be there before we go into my wish list. Now, what I decided to do is try and just look at some of the talks that have been going on over at Sony and see what's been hyped up the most. I think it's pretty apparent that we're going to be seeing a lot of gameplay for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This has been teased a lot. We've seen screenshots, we saw that initial teaser trailer and stuff, but we haven't just seen some deep dive gameplay. We haven't seen somebody just picking up the controller and running around and just playing it and dying and stuff like that. And it is coming out in June, so straight away, it's kind of obvious that we'll be seeing a lot of this tomorrow, because it's one of those games that I think really displays the power of the PlayStation 5, and there's been just so much curiosity about it, which also makes me think about Resident Evil Village. Now, this game was actually initially revealed during a PlayStation 5 press conference, so I think it's pretty obvious that they'll be showing this again tomorrow, and additionally, it seems like Sony has a lot of the marketing rights. Already they've done an exclusive demo for Resident Evil Village on the PlayStation 5, which was just so freaking good looking. I think we're going to see a lot of that big old delicious lady vampire stalking us around the hallway very, very soon. But now I want to go into something that's a little bit more of an educated guess, which is this. So what they said specifically in their press release is that they'd be showing things that were actually revealed during the June PlayStation 5 showcase. I decided to go into the previous PlayStation blog posts and look at this and see what's going on. So this is actually everything they revealed about a year ago, and well, you can see it's things like Forbidden West, Horizon 2. This is definitely going to be there. They've actually been spinning up the hype on this game a lot more recently. They've been talking more about its release dates. This is definitely coming this year. It is definitely available. And they've mentioned that this is going to be coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I mean, already everybody knows that Horizon is a very interesting, futuristic style of open world game. I think getting a chance to see it running on a PlayStation 5 is finally going to get people more focused on why this game is going to be different, why this game is hopefully going to be so good. And as a fan of Guerrilla Games, this studio, I'm pretty trusting of what it's going to turn into. But here's something else, which is that after they showed off all this big stuff, there is a list of indie games they revealed. Now, some of these have already been released. Bugsnax, I've already beat it. The Pathless, I've already beat it. Both of these games are very, very good on PlayStation 5, but one that caught my eye is definitely Kena Bridge of Spirits. Now, what's interesting about this is this game initially was just such a tiny tease. The internet has fallen in love with this game. Like, straight up, I see so much hype, so much talk, so much conversation about this game. I think that Sony is probably paying attention to that. They realize that they can come out on stage and show this, and people are going to be understandably excited about it. So I think that that's a pretty good guess as to what we're probably going to see tomorrow. Now, the final game I truly believe is going to be there before we get into my wish list is, unfortunately, Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, I know that some of you are going going to be upset about this, but basically what's going on is it seems like this is just still making billions and billions of dollars. GTA Online is still one of the biggest properties on the planet, and remember the fact that they have talked about the fact that there is going to be a new PlayStation 5 version of it, and even a standalone version coming soon of Grand Theft Auto Online. Recently I've gone back and I've started to play some GTA 5 again, and it's crazy how popular this game still is. Like when I go online with my girlfriend and we're doing races or doing some of the deathmatch stuff, there is still just millions, tens of millions of people logging in every single day. This is one of those projects that a lot of gamers have already moved on from, but it remains so popular. So it makes sense that even though it would be a bit of an anticlimactic ending to this, I think that for sure we're going to be seeing it tomorrow. But now let's talk about my guesses, my wish list, the games I hope show up but might not. Let's start things off, of course, with God of War Ragnarok. Now, ever since we saw that initial tease, which was unfortunately just this really dramatic logo and stuff, we've seen that Sony's been relatively silent about it. Just the idea of another God of War has gotten people very, very excited, myself included, but it's one of those things that I think is probably pretty far down the road. Now, we can't necessarily completely rule it out because it may show up in some form or fashion, but I think that it would be very, very cool if Sony just at least showed us a bit of gameplay, a bit of extra art, a bit of a promise of the fact that this game is coming eventually. And another game I wish would absolutely show up is Final Fantasy 16. Now, I've noticed that Square Enix has been pretty silent about this game. Like, after the initial teasers, the first big trailer of it, they've been actually basically doubling down on the fact that it's not going to be here for a bit. In fact, the director of the game has made multiple official statements saying, yes, the game is development, yes, it's going very, very well, but you might not see it for a minute. Still, another PlayStation 5 event, because currently it is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, at least for some points. I mean, this would be a great chance to come out there and say, hey, here is why it's going to be epic, especially because they've been talking about the fact that it is going to be an action-y game, it's going to have some crazy story. I want another glance into the next generation of Final Fantasy. And of course, I have to feel the same way about Silent Hill. There have been so many giant leaks that have managed to slip through the cracks and seem to show that Konami's classic psychological masterpiece is coming back in some form, possibly as a PlayStation 5 reboot. And this is such a good chance to really kind of come out here and say, here it is, baby. Here's why you should be happy to already have a PlayStation 5, or if you don't have one yet, maybe now's a good time to get in line. Going back to this initial list, though, of things that were revealed during the PlayStation 5 big debut event, one of the other games that was shown was Ghostwire Tokyo, which is by Shinji Mikami and the team at Tango Works. Now, this is the guy who actually invented Resident Evil just so many decades ago. I've been a big fan of Ghostwire Tokyo. I think the teases and stuff, the art, the social media, like this game seems like it's going to be very, very interesting, but it's also been relatively muted. I've been a bit curious to see if we could see a bit more of it, and I hope, because we first saw this game during a PlayStation 5 event, I would be absolutely thrilled to see another glance at it tomorrow, because really, I just feel like there's not enough horror these days, and one of the reasons I'm most excited personally for this next generation of technology is because it has new styles of things that could freak you out, new styles of fear, new styles of jump scare, and honestly, it'd be interesting to think things like, imagine some haptic feedback controls for wrestling with ghosts and spirits. I want to kind of see the innovative pushing of boundaries that could happen with a lot more power in the hardware. Now, the final thing I'm making, the final guess I'm doing, is a vague one, which is that I think that there's going to be a giant surprise, a huge reveal. Like, I feel like a lot of times when gamers are talking about what we want to see next, we fall into the trap of thinking of sequels or remakes or reboots. We think about things like, oh, what if they made a Bloodborne 2? Or what if they decided to remake the original Metal Gear Solid? Whereas, I think that what's going to happen tomorrow, I think that there's going to be at least one game that nobody could have predicted. One huge reveal that's just so mind-blowing, it possibly breaks the internet. And that, to me, more than any of these other games, more than the talk, more than the hype, I'm kind of curious to see what Sony chooses to blow us away with, because maybe this could be the dawn of a totally new generation, a new category, a new genre of gaming. At least I can hope. But what do you think? Are you excited for the state of play? Are you going to be tuning into my live stream tomorrow? You freaking better. Be sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, ring that notification bell because apparently that's the thing I have to say now, and please do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. This video was so fun to make. I'm gonna be honest, it's fun to actually write out a wish list and stuff. Ooh, I'm excited for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be hype, and I'll see you guys there. It's let's hope for the best. Fingers crossed, baby. Final Fantasy. Ooh. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, you know, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.